I worked hard for everything that I've had. I don't really feel like things were necessarily handed to me, but I was lucky to have such supportive parents that if I had a dream that I wanted to go after, they have been my biggest champions, my biggest cheerleaders. There was nothing that I couldn't do.
This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. I'm really excited today because you know I'm about educating, empowering, and teaching awareness. And I have a special guest. And I'm talking about special for me because it's the first time I'm interviewing somebody like this beautiful woman named Ashleigh. Oh my God. So we have Ashleigh in the building, Ashleigh Ignelzi. That's the Italian. And you guys know I love Italians.
Spicy Italian.
Yes.
We love that.
Yes. And so I want to introduce her as Emmy Award winning sports reporter and speaker, okay, plant based nutritionist. And we're going to talk about more into details what you have up your sleeves for this year and next year.
Amen. Love that.
So thank you for coming on Purpose and Passion today.
Thank you for having me. I have to give you your flowers because since learning about you and this podcast, I am so impressed at how much of an ambassador you are for your community, an advocate for your community, business owner, mother of 5 children, wife. I'm like, are there 2 of you that I don't know of? Because how does she do it all? So I'm so honored to be here. And thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Serious. Sometimes people tell me, how do you do it, Raina? I said time management. But the first one is God.
Yeah, amen.
Because he gives me that Jesus juice. He gives me that Jesus juice. I don't know how I get that energy to continue. But, you know, purpose and passion is important and it's key for us because a lot of people are born on this earth and they do not know their purpose.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
So let's talk about you, Ashleigh. So where are your parents from?
Yes. So my parents were actually born in Pittsburgh, but they met in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I'm from. I was born and raised in Columbus. I have those Midwest roots.
Yes.
I spent a lot of time though overseas as a kid, so I was very well traveled at a young age. We spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe, in Slovakia actually.
Wow.
And so I got to see the world and different parts of the world at a very young age. It was nice contrast to growing up in this white picket fence part of America that was very safe. And I'm so thankful for, you know, I feel like I had such a pure childhood.
A blessing.
And it really is. I mean, like, I think as we have continued to normalize therapy and mental health and unpacking traumas and things like that, I look back at my childhood and I'm like, my goodness, it could not have been more perfect, you know? So I'm super thankful for that. I'm thankful for that, you know, getting to see the world and realizing that most of the world does not live like we do here in America. And so, I had such a blessed upbringing.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Though. It really is because a lot of people and you know, from Inglewood, and some of the people in our community, we didn't get that opportunity, right?
Right.
But I know for myself, when I meet people with that dream life we've always dreamed for, I don't look at it as you know how people can be jealous, right? Like, oh my gosh. No, I look at it as a blessing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a blessing to be able to know somebody that had a pure childhood.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And can speak on that. And it does exist.
Yes,
and,
it does.
You know, it does. And it's just incredible. And, you know, for as pure as it was, my parents really raised me with such an amazing work ethic and ambition. I worked hard for everything that I've had. I don't really feel like things were necessarily handed to me, but I was lucky to have such supportive parents that if I had a dream that I wanted to go after, they have been my biggest champions, my biggest cheerleaders. There was nothing that I couldn't do. And that's been with me my whole life. And seeing that has allowed me to be that for the people that I love.
Yes.
And so if the real blessing in any of that is that it's given me the freedom and the ability to see it, right? Because we have to see things. So it's given me the ability to see that wholeheartedly and be able to give that to people that I love.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So we were just talking about, so your father is Italian.
Yep.
And your mom?
My mom is Irish. Yeah. So we have
Wow.
a nice little mix going on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I love about it? When back in the days, in the 90s or in the early 2000s, we used to party on Sunset. There was a club bar there. I
Uh-huh.
forgot what it was called. St. Patrick's? No, something Malone's. Something
Okay.
Patrick Malone's.
Uh-huh.
I think it
Oh,
was.
I think it's
I
still there.
Okay. Well, when we used to party over there,
Yep.
we would always talk to the Irish people and be like, you know what the Irish and Mexicans have in common? They're like, what? The flag
Yeah.
colors. So that's
Yeah.
how we got
Yeah.
along.
Listen, Irish and Italians like to party, so I definitely have that in my DNA.
Yeah, so it was so hilarious. It makes me think about back in those days. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. And it's beautiful when I think about culture because obviously, I'm Mexican and Creole. And when I did the
Oh.
ancestry.com
Mhm.
and did the DNA, I was like, oh my God, 1% Jewish, French, you know what I mean? Spanish, German,
Wow.
Native American,
Mhm.
Aztec kind of thing, and
Wow.
African blood. So I was like a big gumbo,
Mhm.
just a
Mhm.
melting pot. So I love to learn about people's culture. And I
Yes.
swear in another life, I had to be Italian because I don't know what it is, but I love me some Italian, the
Yep.
food, the culture, everything. I even go to San Diego to Little Italy to
Wow.
get me some lasagna.
Yes. I know it's worth the drive. I know
Yeah,
it is
it
worth the
is
drive.
worth the drive.
Mhm.
Mimos. Shout out to Mimos in San
Hey.
Diego. Yes. So, how was your childhood in school? Did you ever experience being bullied or being mistreated? Or in high school, like how was high school for you?
Sure.
Like, did you ever see yourself, like, what was your dream
Yep.
as a youth? Like they asked
Mhm.
me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said a ballerina or the president of the United States.
Mhm.
That's what I said.
Yep.
So I want to hear your story.
Yeah. So it's funny. I actually have a book that I wrote from when I was in, I think, preschool.
Yes.
And it asked me what I wanted to be. And it said a movie star, which was fell
Nice.
in love with being on camera at a very young age.
Yes.
I've never shied away from it. And although I wasn't a true movie star, I did have a great run on television for
Yes.
almost 12 years working as a sports reporter, sideline reporter, studio host for a long time.
Yes.
And so I was really involved in theater at a young
Okay.
age, which I think is great because it teaches you so much about your space that you take up, your stage presence,
Yes.
interacting with people, engaging. If you forget your lines, how to just like keep going and
Yes.
public speaking. I'm always good at a moment's notice, things like
That's
that.
amazing. That's a
Hmm.
talent.
Hmm. And that came from theater. And
Yes.
then as I continued to progress in theater and I did some acting and things like that, I also fell in love with horseback riding. At little girls
Wow.
love their
Okay. Love
horses, and I was no
it.
different. And by the time that I got to like my later years in middle school, going into high
Yes.
school, I kind of was at this juncture where I had to choose between theater and acting or horseback riding. And I
Wow.
went with horseback riding.
Yes.
And I competed at a very high level. I still hold some national and world rankings.
Nice.
I showed quarter horses, and my last 2 years of high school, I was actually enrolled in a special high school that was for kids who excelled in activities that weren't traditional sports,
Oh,
like
wow.
football, basketball,
Yes.
things like that. And so I was on the road for most of my junior and senior year of high school, showing all over the country, in Canada. It was, I had my trainer, and
Yes.
then my parents were super supportive. They bought a truck and trailer so that we could haul our horses all over the country. And it was
Oh
this
my
caravan
gosh.
of people who, we all had the same trainer. And I've met some of my longest friends from doing that. And yeah, I really am super grateful for that because it taught me so much about discipline and, being in high school, waking up to groom my horse at 4 a.m.
Yes.
to compete and showing I had no issues doing that. And so it
Wow.
really instilled in me. That's why I say I have no issues working hard, and
Yeah.
it also it's competition, and it's at a little bit of a different level because it's not really a team sport.
Yes.
And so it's like if you were a golfer or a tennis player, it's just you and your horse,
Mm-hmm.
this like huge animal that you
Yes.
just are, it's just the two of you. And so you learn about mental stamina. You
Yes.
learn about how you can count on yourself, you can bet on yourself. And so it's given me a really
Wow.
awesome edge as I continue to go through life and have moments where I needed to be able to have that side of me where I can turn on that competitive edge and
Yes.
say, I know you got this, you know, like, and take my
Yes.
mindset to that level.
I love that. In Palos Verdes, yeah, Palos Verdes, you just take Crenshaw all the way until you get to the hills. Palos
Mm-hmm.
Verdes, I see the young girls riding on the horses with the
Mm-hmm.
black boots, the white
Yep.
tights.
That was me.
And, I always told myself one day I want to take my kids there because, they have, different like practices and the children that live what you lived, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
as a sport. And but also remember in Inglewood when we had the Hollywood race track,
Yep.
and my great grandfather would always want to gamble on the
Mm-hmm.
horses, and I would see like the guys just the jockeys just riding the heck out of that
Mm-hmm.
horse. And I'm thinking to myself, I would be scared. I would try to ride a horse
Yep.
because I know my uncle Raymond, he owned land in Lake Paris, California,
Okay.
off of Highway 74, and we call it the Big Ponderosa.
Uh-huh.
And he had a horse named Come Along, but Come Along, I would not ride him
Right.
because Come Along was something else. I think
Okay.
it was just only for Uncle Raymond to ride.
You was not coming along with
Yeah,
come
yeah,
along.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I
He
wasn't coming
said,
along for
nope.
coming along.
No.
But I remember we took our at-risk youth to Elysian Park,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and we took them for summer to ride the horses, and that was the first time in years that I jumped on a horse as an adult.
Wow.
And all the whole time I was just so scared, and the guy kept saying, "Raina, Miss Carrillo, Raina, the horse can feel
Yes.
you're being scared.
Yes.
So just trust the horse
Yes.
and you will be fine." For a minute I was scared,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like you have to trust. And then I start, okay, a woman of God. When
Mm-hmm.
you trust God, you got to let things go.
Right.
So I had to put myself in that place for the animal, for the horse. And I said, okay, horse. I was talking to, I was like, I trust you. So I'm not going to be scared no more. And I was just rubbing it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it was smooth sailing.
They are the most intuitive creatures.
I
A
bet.
lot of animals are, but horses,
Yes.
you know, they only have peripheral vision, so they can't see directly in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because of that, they rely highly on their senses.
Okay.
And so, if you approach them with anxiety or with angst or with fear, they can pick up on that.
I bet.
There's this funny video of Oprah going to try and pick a horse's hoof,
Uh-huh.
and she is nervous to do it, and she's like, don't you know who I am? I'm Oprah. And the woman was like, this horse does not care that you are Oprah. You have to ask nicely and calmly. And so that is what I really loved
Oh my God,
about
that is so
horses. I
funny.
had really bad performance anxiety as well.
Yes.
And I would get so nervous sometimes that I would make myself throw up. And I know. And sometimes my mom would be there just standing with a bucket, like before I would go and show, and I would just, have that moment. And so I actually saw a sports psychologist.
Yes.
And it really helped me with visualization and
Yes.
seeing my success on the horse. And once I got past that, I was truly unstoppable the last few years of my career. I could
Wow.
not win. And it just, like I said, it comes back to that edge in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so now if you can see things and hold things in your mind,
Yes.
and see it playing out very vividly. My sports psychologist worked with Olympic track athletes. So
Yes.
some of those techniques that he worked with them, he, instilled in me. And it's been something that I still use to this day, all these years later.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a great tool that's really worked well for me throughout life.
You know what I was thinking about sports? It's a male dominant industry.
Mm-hmm.
So being a beautiful woman like yourself, like how was that? Like did
Sure.
guys hit on you and things of that nature?
It was a very different time then. This
Mm-hmm.
was before Me Too. This was before
Yes.
social media really was what it is
Yes.
today. And so you definitely have that locker room mentality. But what I always tell people is that, when you go into things,
Mm-hmm.
how you carry yourself matters.
Yes.
I walked in there, you're not going to hit on me. I am a professional. I carry
Yes.
myself with the professionalism as
Yes.
all of these men, and you will treat me accordingly. And I had that
Mm.
mindset. And so I really had the best experiences
That's
and
awesome.
I have nothing but great things to say. Now, was there a producer here and there who would be like, why don't you just go flirt to get the interview, bat your eyelashes, things like that? It's like, really, I don't even have to do that. You know what
Yes,
I'm
I have
saying?
brains
Like,
and beauty.
yeah, I bet you wish you could. Um,
Yes.
so, I here and there, but for the most part, I never felt disrespected. I never felt looked
Yes.
down upon. I have the best relationships with people that I worked with.
Yes.
And for the most part, like I always had really, really positive experiences with the athletes that I worked with. But I
Yes.
think it all comes back to me taking
Yes.
authority and setting the tone for how I wanted to conduct the interview and how I wanted to do things. And I really take a great deal of pride in that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I didn't really have bad experiences.
That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
it
No, no,
is.
that's a
Yeah.
good thing. And then do you find yourself mentoring the women,
Yes.
in that
Mm-hmm.
industry? So how is that? Because sometimes they say like, women can be catty, women can be this. And I love to hear the stories where people tell me, well, yes, it could happen, but in my situation, we work together.
Mm-hmm.
We become friends. We
Right.
travel together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the mentorship, because I can already like feel your energy of mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
So I really worked with kids in high school. That was something
nice.
that, it was such a unique um, thing that I did being a
Hmm.
sideline reporter that I was so passionate about it that I wanted to work with kids in high school to help them find their purpose and their
Yes.
passion. And so that's for the mentorship for me. That's how I felt the best way for me to give of myself. What
Yes.
is it that like you could do every single day and show up the best version of yourself and it
Yes.
wouldn't feel like work. You would feel so much abundance come from it. You would feel your cup overflow from it. And
Yes.
so I would help, them kind of get through that. And then I would also help them kind of package themselves together. When you show up
Nice.
for interviews, when you put
Yes.
your resume together, things like that. But on the side of things with the women that I worked with, it was totally a sisterhood. I mean, I never had catty
That's
experiences. I'm still
amazing.
really close with all of the women that I had such a privilege to work
Hmm.
alongside. It's grown so much over
Wow.
the last 6 to 7 years that I've been out of the industry, really.
Yes.
And I'm their biggest cheerleader. I love seeing all their success. I'm close with so many of them.
That's
And I love
amazing.
that. They've
That's
all
amazing.
excelled from being sideline reporters to now they're the studio host to the analyst, which I think they're the play by
Wow.
play announcers,
Yes.
roles that were typically filled by men
Men.
before,
Hmm.
they're stepping in. And so it's like the
Wow.
coolest thing to see.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So then, since we're on purpose and passion, so what
Yes,
is your purpose?
sure. So I think for me, purpose and calling are how I kind of look at what I'm meant to do here.
Yes.
I find purpose in almost a lot of things that I do. I feel purpose in taking care of myself and eating right and
Mm,
exercising. I feel purpose in spending my time with God.
yes.
Calling is, in my opinion, God's what he has a specific thing that he has
Assigned.
placed on you over
Yes.
your life.
Yes.
And so I feel like my calling is as a communicator,
Hmm.
and that was once a communicator in sports, and then it transitioned into a communicator into nutrition.
Yes.
And now I feel like I'm being ushered into a new season of life where it's a communicator of God. And so
Yes.
I'm on a launch team for a church that just launched here in Inglewood, Illuminate Church.
Yes.
And so as I have grown in that season of life and grown in that, I feel very called to speak about faith, to talk about God.
Yes.
If you know me for 5 to 10 minutes, I'm not going to not bring up God or Jesus or my
Yes.
faith or anything like that. And so, God's children are diverse,
Yes, we
and He
are.
wants to partner with us on everything that it is that we do. He wants us to have success in all areas of our life.
Yes.
And so, I think, my calling and my purpose in general has always been that of a communicator,
Mm-hmm.
that of a messenger, and
Mm.
it's just looked different in different seasons of my life.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about the nutrition part.
Yes.
So how did so when you left
Yep.
your industry in
Mm-hmm.
sports, you went into nutrition?
Yes. So even when I was in sports, I was probably about 25, 26 at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and my career was like taking off.
Wow.
And I was cross country flights multiple times a week. Sometimes I would literally, be in Portland, Oregon, covering a game on Friday night, take a flight back, have another flight in college football on Saturday night. And for being so young, I looked so tired and my
Yeah.
skin was really bad. And I just felt like, I'm like, for being this young and for being as healthy as what I thought I was,
Yes.
as I am, I should look and feel a lot better. And so
Mm-hmm.
I did my own research. That's something that I've been a little bit of a research nerd my whole life. And so I looked up the best ways to have good skin, and it
Yes.
led me to a plant-based diet. I wish there
Okay.
was like a more glamorous way that I came across this, but I was literally eating to get rid of acne. And and, and I became so passionate about it. I
Mm-hmm.
went back to school and I got certified as a plant-based nutritionist.
Nice.
And so when I first moved to LA, I started my own business and I worked predominantly with athletes. So
Yes.
it kept my passion for sports and it just brought in another element of it. When I was a kid, I always saw myself as a businesswoman. I saw
Yes.
myself as an entrepreneur doing multiple things. And so I never thought that I would be on television forever. I thought I would
Yes.
be on TV, do something else, but TV would always be a part of it. And it has, like, whether I'm
Yes.
talking about
Mm-hmm.
nutrition or faith, there's always, the element of being on camera or a communicator
Yes.
involved in that. And so my business then was called Get Your Vibes. I had a kitchen space in the Arts District. I specialized in making plant based supplements and snacks. I developed a
Nice.
nutritional program that's about 80% whole food plant based, 20% animal protein if needed. But what I have
Yes.
typically found is that most of the clients that I work with, 2 weeks being on the program, they almost naturally wean themselves off of meat altogether. So it's really
Okay.
cool. And
I'm gonna have to learn that one
yeah,
because my
yeah.
husband does not eat meat, but he still eats like egg whites
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, milk,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but I tried to, but
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't last.
I think the biggest thing is finding what works for you,
Okay.
right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to
Yes.
find something that's sustainable and for the majority of the time is healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be sustainable because these
Yes.
diets, I mean, living in LA and you see it's fads here and there,
Yes.
Ozempic and all of this type of stuff, like,
Popping pills,
right, you need
getting the injections of a lipo shot and
exactly.
B12.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. Yes. And so you have to find sustainability,
Yes.
and so it's a lifestyle. And
Yes.
so for me, it's come through the form of plant-based nutrition, and I help people find and build wellness infrastructure in their
Yes.
lives.
Oh my
That's what it
gosh.
is.
Well, I'm happy that you're sharing this because I think, when it comes to our community, health is wealth. And what I mean
Yes.
by that is that, in the black and brown community, we get diabetes, we get cancer, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and it's because we're eating foods we shouldn't be eating, fried foods,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Then then we put pork in certain
Mhm.
beans,
Mhm.
right? And I think about tortillas. I love tortillas, but I got to figure a way out. And
Right.
I'm so grateful that you're a nutritionist because
Mhm.
I want to ask these questions because
For
right
sure.
now I'm not embarrassed, I'm a human being.
Right.
And so last year when I was running for mayor of Inglewood,
Hey.
hey,
Hey.
I was literally in a stressful
Yes.
situation and I
Yes.
didn't know how to handle it. So what I was doing was eating fast foods
Yes.
and chocolate and
Mhm.
just I couldn't shop. So what I was doing was eating anything.
Mhm.
And so with that to say, I wasn't eating correctly and I was stressing and stress caused health issues.
Right.
So then they told me, Raina, you have gallstones in your
Oh.
gallbladder. I said, I don't feel anything. And they're like, well, that's a good sign. So that
Mhm.
means you have to do A, B, and C. You got to
Mhm.
stay away from fried foods, no more French fries. And I'm like, what the heck?
Right.
And then I truly believe because I was doing the lipo shot, it probably triggered something in
The
my
lipo
liver.
shot.
Yes,
Okay.
where you can lose weight. It's a
Oh.
shot
Okay.
and you
Okay.
lose
Okay.
weight.
You lose
But
weight.
they said sometimes it can attack the liver. So my
Oh.
liver was always healthy and
Mhm.
good. And then I ended up getting a cyst.
Right.
So I was eating not good. I
Mhm.
wasn't drinking enough water. I was getting this lipo shot and B12 shot to try to keep going.
Right.
And it didn't really work.
Mhm.
So
Nothing replaces a healthy diet.
Man.
Absolutely
So
nothing. And that's
that's
why it's
why.
so important that it has to be sustainable.
Yes,
That's
and
the
that's what I
most
want to
important.
learn from you.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
and I would love to, connect, in a few months to host a health is wealth
Yes.
here, to
Yes.
talk about being
Mhm.
healthy
Mhm.
and why it's considered wealth, because the reality is that if you cannot outlive your money, then you're not wealthy.
Right. Or
But it's
what good is the success without your health?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So it's like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire, if
Mhm.
you have cancer and you're not taking care of yourself, your money outlived you. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Mhm.
you can do so much with abundance of not just for yourself personally, but giving back to the community. You know what
Right.
I mean? And
Absolutely.
just giving things that God would want you to do to help
Yes. Yeah.
others. So I'm really excited about that. And so when I go back to um the launch team,
Mhm.
that's how I found you,
Yeah.
because I was putting Inglewood, Faith Inglewood,
Oh.
Christian Inglewood,
Mhm.
I was just, and
Mhm.
then I saw you, and I'm just like, she in Inglewood? Wait a minute. And then I'm start looking, and I'm like, oh my God, your business. So I want you to talk about your
Yeah.
business and launching and
Yep.
working with the church.
Yep.
And I think it's phenomenal. I can't wait to, pay a visit,
Yes.
to meet the pastor.
Yes.
And anything in Inglewood, I'm down. I love to
Yes.
support, and
Mhm.
I would love to interview him as
Yes.
well.
You should. So it's
Yes.
called Illuminate Church. Right now we are in Century Park Elementary School on South
Yes.
Spinning. And we launched on March 5th.
Yes.
And so this is the product of Pastor Jason and Pastor Stacy Shepherd.
Yes.
They are amazing. They are the lead pastors. And, funny story, I had been leading Bible studies, all throughout COVID and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really praying for ways to deepen my ministry. I'm
Yes.
like, is God really calling me into pastoring? Like, is he asking
Yes.
me to become a preacher? Like, what is going on? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Me, you know? And so I was praying for all of this. And I'm in Cancun. This is in August. I'm in Cancun and I am smack dab in the middle of the ocean there.
Yes.
And I'm just enjoying myself, soaking up the sun, the water. And I see this nice couple next to me and I
Mm-hmm.
start talking with them. And I'm like, oh, where are you guys from? And oh, we're from California. Oh, I live in LA. We live in Inglewood. And
Oh
it was
my
Pastor
God.
Jason and Pastor Stacy. And I'm like, well, what do you guys do in Inglewood? Oh, we're launching a church. I'm like, okay. Okay.
Wow.
I have chills just telling you that,
Yes.
and I'm like, no way. And so we exchanged information and it felt so divine. It was like something I
Yes.
couldn't ignore. And so I've been working with them since August
That's
and we
beautiful.
launched in March and it's been I mean, I want to say it's been the most profound experience so far
Yes.
in my life. I mean, I've done a lot of amazing things, traveled the world, won Emmys.
Yes.
I've helped a lot of people with their health and wellness and things like that. But when you bring the element of people building their faith,
Mm-hmm.
um, it it um, it's done something to my spirit that I've never
Yes.
experienced before.
Yes.
And this is why the calling feels different,
Mm-hmm.
And so we have service every Sunday at 9 a.m. It's really amazing to
Yes.
plant something of faith, of something that is so deeply needed in our world right
Of
now.
course. Yes. I agree.
it,
I
whew,
agree.
and so it's been such an amazing experience, and
Yeah.
I love our pastors. I feel very thankful for them.
So the great thing about your business is helping people launch, right?
So my business is really about nutrition. So
Mm-hmm.
myself, that's my business.
Yes.
And that's what I do for work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a business that helps people launch. They just ask
But you
me.
bless them.
Yeah.
Yes, which is a blessing.
Yes, yeah, they just asked me if I wanted to be in the launch team and I'm like, without a question, without a
Yes.
question. And it's done things for me in my life and changed my heart. I
Yes.
always say God changes your external world by changing your inner world. He
Yes,
changes your
correct.
heart. It's the only way you can have your heart changed without heart surgery is through
Yes.
God. And
Yes.
so he really blessed me incredibly beyond measure with this
Yeah.
opportunity. And it's brought something out inside of me that I didn't even know that I've had. I'm actually preaching
Yes.
Sunday service
Oh my
on June
gosh.
25th.
Okay,
So
we're gonna make sure we're
Inglewood,
coming to Inglewood on June 25th.
exactly. You got to show up, show out for me now.
Yes.
And so, I'm like, I can't believe it. I can't
That's
believe
amazing though.
me. He's put this on my life of him. Through
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And so it's been really cool.
I love that. The reason why I was, hashtagging like Inglewood Christianity or faith, women in faith, things of that nature is because during COVID, I I was it's so the day before, I believe, yeah, so the day before 2020,
Hmm.
every year it's like a tradition for me. I go to the ocean. I go to talk to God because something about the ocean,
Sure.
being around rocks and things of that nature, I just feel closer to him.
Water is very cleansing.
I just feel it. And so I remember the day before 2020 because that 2020 was
Who could
COVID.
forget?
Man. And I remember my pastor was fighting for his life,
Hmm.
and I was asking God to spare him. And I said, I don't know if this is such selfish praying,
Hmm.
but please, God, you have to save him because I'm going to be a lost sheep,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I'm going to go right back to the
Hmm.
Catholic Church, just not building that relationship with God, just
Right.
more religion, right?
Hmm.
Right. And so, next thing I leave the hospital and I go to Palos Verdes, to the resort area. And I was talking to God and I stood quiet. And two things that was revealed was it was going to be a lot of death
Hmm.
and it was going to be a lot of children
Hmm.
born.
Hmm.
I had no idea
Wow.
what was that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so when 2020 came, COVID hit, and it was a lot of death and a
Hmm.
lot of birth
Yep.
because people were in house
Making
making
babies.
babies.
Making
Yes.
babies.
And so in that journey, I started to think about myself and about the gifts. So I always share with people at the age of 5 or 6, I started to see dead people,
Hmm.
and I thought it was a curse.
Hmm.
So as I get into church, my pastor says, you have the gift of discernment and the gift of discerning spirits.
Hmm.
And there's another one because I love inviting people to church.
Hmm.
I forgot what the word is,
Hmm.
but it's like people that there's a word for it where
Yes.
you invite people to
Hmm.
church and things of that nature. I love doing that because a lot of people go through different things in life. They want to commit suicide, they go to drugs, they divorce, they don't know how to deal and cope with things, and fear.
Hmm.
And so people would reach out to me for certain things, and I'll say, just come to church,
Hmm.
or I would tell them, just meet me here, and want to say church,
Right.
and there will be
Gotcha.
Bible
Yeah.
studies. Yeah. If I love you, I'm going to introduce you to the
Yeah.
Lord.
Yes.
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 And so I met with through the phone and through a Zoom, Miss Yvonne Camper. She is a prophetess.
Oh.
She's a
Hmm.
woman of God,
Hmm.
and she's going to be doing this event in May, which is about Esther and another
Oh.
one. I forgot the woman in the Bible, but it was
Ruth.
Esther and something. Yes.
Okay.
And she was, I had asked one of the church members, is she legit? I can sense people, but I like to get a confirmation. She was
Sure.
like, yeah, she's the real deal. And I
Wow.
said, oh my God, I've got these gifts, and I don't want to do it with tarot cards. I don't
Hmm.
want to do it with stones. I don't want to do it, in Santeria or voodoo. I
Hmm.
want to do it in God's name,
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I found somebody, and that's Yvonne Camper, and
Wow.
I can't wait to go to her event. It's a
Hmm.
woman's event.
Hmm.
And so with that to say, I'm on this journey to to spiritually fulfill the prophetess
Hmm.
Raina,
Hmm.
prophet Raina, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
And there's so many things that God shared with me that is so crazy that I'm just like, I'm always on point. And like, for example, I got to share this.
Hmm.
So I was a case manager, and I remember meeting the mother, Miss Jackie, and Jackie had all girls, and God showed me her son. And the first thing I did was, it was awkward, right?
Mhm.
And I said, Jackie, I said, is your tubes tight? And she's all like, no. And I was like, Jackie, you're going to have a son.
Oh.
And she's like,
Oh.
girl, I am too old for the son. I am too old. You're crazy. Well,
Yeah.
months later,
No.
she was pregnant for a boy. And it was her husband's first son.
Oh my goodness.
And so to see what God revealed to me, and to see it in the spiritual realm is what I saw.
Right.
But in the physical realm, to see was like, wow. And then the second one, before I close on Purpose and Passion, was my friend Marisol. Marisol told me to pray over her when she was doing my makeup. And she was like, I want to get this business next door to me, but I'm not sure if it's the right decision. So I prayed with her, and I start crying because God showed me that it was hers.
Right.
So fast forward, she, texts me, baby mama, come to my, come to my business. And I'm like, okay. And it was not a small business, but it was a decent size. But next door was the salon that she was talking about. And she opened the door to the salon, and she goes, baby mama, it's mine. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I saw this, but to see it in the physical world was just astonishing for me, And so I'm just like, wow. Somebody told me, are you like a psych? I said, no, I don't have familiar spirits. I have God.
Right.
God sends me the message, and I share. Sometimes he tells me not to share because the individual is not ready for the truth.
Sure.
So you got to find other ways to give them the message without making them feel awkward, right?
Sure.
And so as I'm learning this spiritual journey, I'm loving the fact that I have a sister in Christ with me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And obviously we woke up with the same energy.
Yeah.
All black.
I know.
All black.
It's
all
true
black.
though. God will bless you through people.
Yes,
that
I
it's
agree.
through his brothers and sisters. That's what it's all about.
So I want you to close out Purpose and Passion with a beautiful message to our viewers.
Yeah. So I just want to encourage everyone that no matter what season you're in life right now, that I just pray that you keep your eyes forward, your eyes focused, and keep your eyes focused on the light that there is in this world. We get so comfortable in the letdown that we forget to let in hope. And so I pray that you open up your heart and you allow hope to come in. You allow joy to come in. We just had Easter Sunday. And so with the resurrection and spring, it's a new time where joy can become more joyful, peace can become more peaceful, hope can become more hopeful, and most importantly, forgiveness can become more forgiving. If you're feeling any angst, let it go. Now's not the time to have that. And so I just want to encourage you to step into this new season. God is doing new things in new ways in our life. Keep your eyes up, keep your heart open, and I promise you will not be let down.
Amen.
Amen.
So how can the viewers find you on social
yes,
media?
Of course. So you can find me at IG Ashleigh. I spell it IGASHLEIGH. Hey. And 360 by Ashleigh, which is my nutrition Instagram. I look forward to connecting with all of you, and come to church. Love inviting people to church. Come to Illuminate Church. Sunday service, 9 a.m. We would love to have you all there.
Thank you so much, Ashleigh.
Thank you.
Well, this is Raina Carrillo signing out on Purpose and Passion. Thank you, Ashleigh.
Thank you.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.